Welcome back to the Aussie Shed, ladies and gentlemen, for another episode of Project Fairlady. So what I'm up to at the moment, folks, is I'm at the very early stages of planning out how to clean up the airflow under the Z32. And I'm going to do that by putting some flat panels in and creating an almost flat floor. To further improve on that, I'm also going to fit a rear diffuser. Now obviously there are many constraints with a mass-produced road vehicle like this. There are the ideal and optimum ways to do things, and obviously there are ways that are going to get you a pretty good benefit but aren't really optimal. Now unfortunately they're the compromises that you have to make with a road vehicle. This isn't a race car, so everything can't be just purely focused on functionality. Obviously I'm trying to lean into functionality as best as I can, but again we have regulations for road use for the vehicle, clearance under the car, etc, etc. So what I'm trying to do is build something that's going to give me the bulk of the benefit of having a flat floor and a diffuser under the car, but maintain things such as, you know, ease of service and all that kind of stuff. Plus I don't really want it to look too over the top. Fortunately underneath the vehicle you can't really see too much. Diffuser at the back is something that you will see, so you know, it's going to be hard to make that look not as obvious, but we can only try, folks. We can only try. So let's go underneath and have a little bit of a look at what I'm up to at the moment. So you can see what we have here, folks. It's some 3mm MDF sheet that I've been cutting in there, in and around stuff. You can see I've got clearance for the exhaust system and all that sort of stuff. Some of that may be closed up in the future. A lot of it's going to have to be left open, unfortunately, just to the heat that's generated by these downpipes and the cats. But there is a lot of other stuff that's going to be done. As I say, this is very, very in the early stage. The main idea behind this stuff in here is to help me figure out the heights of everything, what bracketry I need and where to place that bracketry, and how well I can support the floor, which will also help me determine how thick the floor needs to be and how self-supporting it needs to be. Because the floor does need to be quite strong, but of course the biggest trade-off with that is weight. Anything that we add to the car adds weight to it, so minimising the weight is a priority, and it's just a bit of a juggling act. And even though I've been called a clown a lot in my life, I've never actually been a good juggler. So let's go to the back of the car, folks, and I'll show you what I'm mucking around with at the moment on the rear diffuser placement. So here we are, folks, diffusers. So what you can see here, folks, is where the flat floor or the flat floor templates are coming through. That's roughly the height that flat floor section is going to be, and that's roughly where it's going to finish before it breaks into the diffuser. Now how that's set up, that is hard up against the lowest components that I can get it to, which is basically just only a few mil here and there below the sill. I do have some aluminium angles fixed to the sills on the side. Either end they're probably only about 10 mil below, but as you know on the Z32 the sill humps up in the middle, so it's a little bit high in the middle. But obviously the floor can't be, the floor has to be flat. So what I'm working on is also the fact that I have to keep this thing legal. So in New South Wales, which is where I am, we have to have a 100mm clearance between the road and the floor pan of the car, or between the road and the lowest hanging thing under the car, which is going to be the floor pan. So as long as I keep my 100mm clearance, I'm completely road legal in that regard. So what that also means is if I have strakes on the diffuser, they also have to be following the same line as the underneath of that floor pan there, so that from there we have to sort of go up. Now the angle that I'm using for my diffuser is 10 degrees, and I've arrived at that angle for many reasons. Basically it's considered to be the optimum angle, or thereabouts, between sort of 7 and 10 degrees. It is on the high side of it for diffusers. Any higher than that, you start talking about air separation from the diffuser and things like that. Like any aero stuff, size matters. The bigger it is, the more effect it will have. Aero just really comes down to force times area. So obviously, if the force is the same but the area is bigger, you're going to get a bigger effect. So therefore, we want to take advantage of that and make everything as large as we can so we get the biggest benefit. Currently where those MDF templates finish is just slightly this way of where I'm going to start the diffuser. And as I mentioned, my diffuser angle is going to be about 10 degrees, and I'll show you how that sort of lays out. Firstly, This is my 10-degree template. It's just a bit of core flute that I've cut at 10 degrees. See, it doesn't look like a lot, but when you get it under the car, it takes up a lot of space real quick. So let's get it under and see where we are. So folks, with that sitting level there, that's about where it is. So that's 10 degrees. That gives me clearance under the exhaust. It gets me pretty much in line with the face of the differential. But the problem here is, I want to get rid of that. I want to take this all the way across because I want to build up against the exhaust there. And the same on the other side, and I want to take that whole area up with this 10-degree rake. Otherwise, I'm going to have to drop it down to about 6 degrees, which is where I'll end up on that. And I don't really want to do that because it won't be anywhere near as effective. So what I'm going to do now, folks, is I'm going to cut that off. And hopefully I'll be able to blend it in such a way that it all looks pretty neat. I've already got some ideas of how I'm going to actually do all this to make it all look sort of pretty good. So just bear with me. I don't really like hacking stuff up. Fortunately, it's a removable panel. It's only a rear bar. It is replaceable if it doesn't turn out any good, or at some point if I want to remove it or do it differently or whatever. It's just a matter of getting a new rear bar. So it's not the end of the world, but hopefully it should turn out alright. So let's cut that and see what it looks like. So this is the general idea, folks. What I'm going to do is have a piece of aluminium that runs all the way across here. It will actually tuck in behind there. It'll sort of go through a slot. It'll run all the way along here and be shaped obviously to match the bar. There'll be a little bit of a lip that comes up and sits against the face of the bumper, so it'll wrap around over the bumper, be fixed in along that face. This will be cut through here. A little bit of a round edge there, and then a little piece there will be folded up just the same as that. And then from there along the bottom, that edge will be probably about maybe 3 inches wide, maybe 4 inches wide, and then from there is where the diffuser tunnel starts. So that's the plan anyway, folks. But like with all this stuff, early days yet. Hopefully my thinking's straight and I'm not kind of buggering all this up, because I am in a little bit of a fog at the moment because I am actually suffering from the dreaded virus. So I'm spending some time in the shed, which is a bonus on that side of it. But yeah, I'm a little bit under the weather. I am struggling a bit. Probably not the best time to be doing something like this on your car, but hey, what the hell. Anyway, I'll keep going. So I've got a bit of aluminium sheet set up under there now, folks, that I've just been working on, doing a little bit of shaping with, a little bit of bending and stuff. That's just a bit of 1.6. About 110 mil wide, and I've just been working on various things to get me the shape that I require to not only look good but sort of work in conjunction with the diffuser that I'm building. And you know, it's all got to kind of work. That's the hardest thing about doing stuff like this, is trying to visualize the next step and how other things are going to integrate with the part that you're sort of currently working on, you know. So you can see this is just an MDF sort of piece that I did initially first, trying to work out how to do this. I've actually had a few pieces cut in different ways just to kind of help with a bit of a visualization of what it's sort of going to look like. I'm pretty happy with that now, where that is. How I'm going to do this, guys, is I'm going to do this as just sort of a trim piece to close up the bumper where it's been cut, and then the actual diffuser and everything is going to sit in behind it as a separate piece. I have some strips cut for here, guys, that are I'm actually going to weld. I'm going to do quite a bit of TIG work on this onto that face there, so it kind of wraps around and we'll sort of go around these edges. This will be cut out where the number plate is. You can see that's two pieces that are just sort of sitting there clamped together. So it still needs a lot more work. So I'll carry on with it and I'll give you a look at any updates. Alright, that's starting to take shape now, folks. See this guy here? That's all welded up and cleaned up. And this one here, you can see where we've tigged all this piece along here. That's just all got to be filed up. A bit of grinding and a bit of filing just to clean that up, and it will eventually look like that one. But a bit more to do on that. Once they're done, we've then got to move into this number plate area here and sort of chop this and fold it and weld it and get all that sort of cleaned up, plus join these two pieces together. It's coming along. Alrighty. Alright, that trim piece is pretty much sorted now, folks. As you can see, she's sitting in position. I assume I probably won't be making any more changes to that as far as finishes go on it. It may end up being body colour to match in with the bumper, or a slightly different colour. Don't know yet. All those sort of styling things are something that obviously I'll look at sort of later. So you can see there, that's what we had, obviously. So that's basically all we've done. It's just that. But at least it's all closed up properly now, and it gives me a nice separation point between this whole rear aluminium work with the diffuser and everything like that that's going to be kind of in there, and the rest of the car, you know. So hopefully it means it'll quite easily be able to be removed and installed and all that sort of stuff. So this is sort of the rough idea, folks. It'll be a piece like that just sort of, wow, when I say like this is real rough. That's just a bit of stuff sort of sitting in there. But that sort of gives you a bit of an idea of the angle of that panel on the back there. How it's all actually going to finish up, I really don't know at this stage. I'm probably going to drop some strakes down the side and then maybe come up on a different angle up under the muffler, you know, and then maybe sort of go around the muffler and then fill in this area somehow. I've obviously had a few ideas about it, but I'm not 100% set on exactly what I'm going to do yet. I've had the car up and down, and I've set myself up with a chair at the back of the car, and I've been sitting there and looking at it and just trying to really visualise how it's going to look like when it's finished. The truth of the matter is, once the car's down on the ground, you really don't see too much of this at all, which is really the whole point of it, so that we can generate some downforce with the back of the car without having to stick a really big ugly wing on the back of it, you know. So that's where I am with it, folks. It's all still really up in the air. I'm very unsure about particularly the styling side of it, and I imagine when this is finished it's probably not going to be something that really appeals to everyone. But again, it will be under the car. It is more of a functional item that obviously you can see from the back of the car if you get down low enough, and you can tell from the tone in my voice that I'm still really unsure about how this is going to look when it's sort of finished and everything, because it is a lot of work in setting all this up and setting it up properly, to get to the end of it and then just go, nah, I hate it, and rip the whole thing out, which is very possible, but I just don't want to get to that point where I've done all that work for nothing, you know. From a functionality standpoint, I'm pretty confident that it's going to be absolutely huge. It's going to be a real game changer with the car. But again, unless it looks right, I'm just not going to have it on there. So currently, the position I'm in is I've got to do a lot more mock-up work, and then I have a lot of decisions to make as far as how I feel about it when I finish all the mock-ups and I can get a really good look at it. Because currently, I'm really not sure. Tell you what I'm going to do, folks. I might just drop the car down as low as I can get it and give you guys a look from the back and see what you reckon. I'll get it down and we'll have a look together. So, even at that height, folks, the change to the bar that I've made, in my opinion, doesn't really look that noticeable. I don't think it's something that the average person would be able to tell anything's been done to it. And as you can see, even at this height, and the car is still another probably 350, 400 millimeters off the floor, all that you know, rear diffuser stuff and the flat floor and all that sort of stuff underneath. It's all disappeared now. You literally won't be able to see really any of it when it's done. And something I haven't really touched on at all, folks, is there's obvious heat management issues with that. With part of the exhaust is going to be covered in, and also the differential, things like that, are going to be sort of sealed up within that floor area. It won't be completely sealed. There will be some air movement under there, but I've got to put a lot of thought into try and get air moving in and out of that area, a restricted amount of air, so that we do retain some capacity to keep the exhaust cool and keep the diff cool, but sort of not creating excessive turbulence with any of that. So lots to think about anyway, folks. So that's just about it for today, folks. I think I've left myself with more questions than I have answers for. But who knows? Next week, it could be completely different. You just don't know, do you? Alright, folks, thanks for stopping by the Aussie Shed. Always a bloody pleasure to have you here. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. And as always, I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.